At this time, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Nashville Town Council to order. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Father, we invite you into this meeting to lead us and guide us to make the right decisions for all the citizens of Nashville. Amen.
Amen.
Before we hear the public comments, the fire chief wanted to share something with the people present here.
So, can everybody hear me? So this past week when we had the incident out at near South Creek, there's been some questions asked. We did what's called a reverse 911 call, code red, and it only went out to the South Creek area that would have been affected if we had an issue. A lot of folks are asking, how did they get on that reverse 911? If you go on Nash County's website, when it comes up, you'll see something that says service. Click on service, and then it says code red. When you click on code red, you fill out your information, it puts you in the system. So that way, if we do a code red call, reverse 911, you're in the system. We did two the other night when we put everybody on the shutdown until we got that controlled, and then we did a second one to tell everyone everything was good to go. We had it removed, nothing else problem. So if you ever have any issues, contact fire department or the PD, and we can help you get lined up on that. But you can go to Nash County's website and do that.
Thank you so kindly. On our public comments, if you're going to comment about any item on the agenda, the front yard parking, the social district, or the rezoning request, would you please hold your comments until we get to that item? But if you're speaking would like to speak about something other than that, you may come to the podium at this time. Just raise your hand and we'll see who we have that would like to speak if there's anything other than the items on the agenda. James? And we're going to hold you tight to 3 minutes tonight.
I'm going to talk fast. So
Not that we
if I'm
don't.
going fast, just, I know it's only 3 minutes. The first thing, I got 3 topics I want to talk about, and I'm pretty sure everybody here in this room is affected by it. And I'm hoping maybe Ms. Mason, you can help us out. It's the service that we're getting from Optimum Cable. I'm telling you, that cable is something else. It is constantly, you either have no pictures, you have either sound going up, or it's out for hours. And when you try to contact these people, good luck. You cannot get a hold of anybody. So that's the one issue. If there's just something that maybe you can find out where we can talk, get us a number to where we all can communicate with somebody. Because I had an incident where I had been away. When I came back home, my cable wire outside got loose and I didn't know about it, and I ended up tripping and falling. And it was really hard for me to try to finally get a hold of somebody which they could understand. Another issue too, but if you could get us a number where we could maybe include it in our utility bill, because not everybody is on the social. And then the next thing I want to talk about is out front. Do we know when we're going to do the sidewalk project? Is there any time period that's coming up anytime soon, or?
Randy, you can address that.
Yeah,
My minutes now.
There is. The contractor, I talked to him earlier this week. He's also doing work at the junction, and he's also doing work for the DOT on revamping some of the existing ADA ramps. So he's going to come later this month, and he's going to do all 3 at the same time.
Because I know, like for myself, the last time we had this project go on, I was affected by cloud-wise and with the sidewalk, and I had one big massive mess in front of my house. And right now, I want to know are we going to have somebody from the city that's going to be overlooking this next phase that they're going to do the project? Because this last time, it was a royal mess because I was dealing with cloud-wise and with what the sidewalk did. And then nobody never came back and repaired what they had done. And I think you had even came to my house and said, no, this was not acceptable. And I had to it took me 2 days myself to repair that embankment. And I just don't think it's fair. And I know there were some proceeds that were left, I think you withheld from them. Whatever happened with those proceeds? Is it just going to go back into the fund and go towards this next phase or what?
Well, the 15% that we held till we got satisfaction, it's been released. We held that money for almost a year before all the all the repairs and complaints were
Well,
taken care of.
nobody never came to me, and I know you even came out and you looked at my yard and you said, no, this was not acceptable, and I didn't think it was fair for me to have to do it. And now I got a big hole right in front of my house with the size of a Volkswagen. I mean, where the water just blew out, and now that road is cracking up real bad, and it's dipping, and my neighbor across the street, his concrete driveway at the foot, that was never fixed, and the sidewalk, it was lifted up one end, and nobody's never gotten back to us. And I just don't think that was really fair. And I just hope that this next time, when this next phase of the sidewalk comes in, that we're gonna have somebody from the city that's gonna be on this from the time it starts until the time it ends.
Thank you very much.
Just one more, just
No,
please.
your 3 minutes is up, honey. I
Okay.
love you, but your
All
3
right.
minutes is up. The next is Ms. Doretha Johnson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
110 East Washington Street, Doretha Johnson. I was just kind of going over, this is completely different from probably anybody else's comment, but on the, with the fire department, how do we pay taxes for land we don't own? In there, it says we were going to be paying taxes on the property. I don't know if there's something you're going to talk about later on in the town manager's report or not, but I think we need to look into that if we don't know, because usually you can't pay taxes on property you don't own. You only pay taxes on property you own. Now, IRS would be all over us for that. Okay?
Randy, do you have any comments for that, or?
Sure. Well, the lease agreement that we have on the fire station, and again, we're leasing the fire station land that we're going to build a new fire station because we cannot purchase it at this time. We have an option in 7 years, and we will, but it's a triple net lease. We have to pay the rent, we have to pay the taxes, and we have to pay the insurance. It's a standard commercial lease. They're not terribly a lot of taxes. Right offhand, I don't remember what the dollar amount is, but, you know, we will have to pay those taxes until we purchase the ground. And then at that point, it'll be tax exempt because it's owned by the town of Nashville.
Right.
The property taxes.
That's not legal, so I think you better look at that.
Any other comments, questions? That's not on our agenda? Okay, if that's the case, we'll move forward. Our first item on our agenda is the front yard parking ordinance that we had to have a second look at and make some changes. So Randy, I'll turn that over to you.
Sure. Mayor and council, this is the second reading of this ordinance. At the last meeting back in September, there were a number of changes. Staff wanted to make sure we got them all put in to everyone's satisfaction. The town attorneys looked at this. I've heard from a couple of you on some things that we did miss, and we put those in there. You should have the latest version of this ordinance in front of you on the DS. The things that are different from what you got in your packet are in underlined red text. So, well, what this ordinance does is it makes it unlawful for somebody to park vehicles in their front yard on the grass or an unimproved surface. People can expand their driveways. This limits that expansion to 30% of the front yard. You can't cover more than 30% of the front yard with a hard surface to park on. So, and this ordinance will be enforced by our code enforcement officer. There are exceptions in here for if somebody has a graduation party, a wedding temporarily, they can contact the code enforcement officer, and the code enforcement officer can grant them permission to temporarily park in the front yard. The other thing that this ordinance does is it also makes it unlawful for someone to park on the street beyond the hard surface of the street. So a lot of our neighborhoods aren't curbed and guttered, and, you know, people will park partially on the street surface and partially on the grass, and this makes that also unlawful.
Any questions or input, council members?
I have two hands in the back.
Yes. You need to come up here and speak, please, and state your name and your address.
Good evening,
Good evening.
everybody.
Good evening.
I
feel a little guilty. I didn't know it was so many people.
That's
out here
okay.
tonight.
Just give us your name, honey, and your
Okay,
address.
my name is Jasneet Wiggins. My mother is actually a resident at 411 Woodfield Drive. We came to know of the prohibited front lawn parking of the vehicles via the Rocky Mount Telegram. So we wanted to come in attendance, and we thought that this was like an open floor to speak on it and discuss on it. Now, is that already a finalized vote? Is it still open for discussion?
Do we vote tonight?
We
Yeah.
already voted. We're
We
just,
voted, and then
this
we
is
have
the
a second.
revised.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's still a chance to argue against it?
I don't think so, really, but we can hear your opinion.
Okay, absolutely, I would love to. So, you know, like I said, we read about it, and we wanted to voice our side. I'm not sure if anyone here was in opposition to the front lawn parking. My mom was one of the homes, the 411 Woodfield was one of the homes that was addressed during the last meeting per the Telegram article. And, you know, we were very shocked at a lot of the things that were said, the comments that were made, and we definitely didn't want it to be based off of personal attacks that it felt like to my mom's home. A lot of those comments came from our neighbors, which reside at 413 Woodfield Drive, stating things like we had vicious dogs in the yard, a number of the cars didn't have license plates or were in service, and that my mom had threatened them and told them not to say anything. So, you know, we wanted to come here to say, you know, that's not true, and we hated that we weren't here to voice our opinions during that time and defend ourselves. My mom does have a lot of vehicles. My mom is also a single mom of 4 children. She's worked hard for everything that she has. All of us worked hard for everything that we obtained. So when you are making this decision, you know, I took this time to ride around our neighborhood of Woodfield because, you know, it was very disheartening what I read, and I was like, are we the only ones that have a lot of vehicles? You know, a lot of residents work hard, they mind their own business, everyone, you know, it's a peaceful neighborhood.
Well, we thank you for sharing, you know, your opinion with us.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry you didn't get to come to the other meetings too.
Initial, yes.
But thank you so very
So
much.
just being one of the voices to say, you know, the cars are there, but the cars are there for a reason. And I hope that y'all consider, you know, the many homes that do have cars in the yard and what their purpose may be for.
Thank you. So after looking, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, honey, I
Hello,
didn't see
how
you.
are you?
I'm good.
Okay. Hello, all of you. My name is Alonzia, and I am the youngest daughter of Teresa Wiggins. And if you don't mind, I would like to read off notes that I made for the meeting. Okay.
You have 3
So-
minutes, right?
I'm the youngest child of Teresa Wiggins, who identifies herself as the primary resident of 411 Woodfield Drive. My mom has been a resident of Nashville for approximately 14 years. She's been a hardworking citizen. She's employed with the United States Postal Service for over 27 years and is the local union president of the 305 district. My mom has worked hard for all that she has earned and achieved over the years. She has also provided a great life and pathway for her 4 children, as well as a therapeutic foster parent over the years. My mom made a life for herself here in Nashville, and being raised in Nashville has been a significant part of our childhood. And with the exception of my sister, all of her children graduated from Nash County, are grateful for Nashville, the opportunities that Nashville has provided for us. And with that being said, I was really disheartened with the recent article that was shared approximately 2 weeks ago from the Rocky Mount Telegram. Initially, when reading the article, we thought it was going to be like the highlight of prohibiting of parking vehicles on the front lines of personal residences in Nashville. But instead, what you read was like a personal attack and defamation of character targeted at my mother and other residents who have posed no threat to the community or harm to their neighbors whatsoever. No one here may care, but a lot of the statements that were made were very hurtful to my mother. And what concerned me the most was that a lot of the information provided was not true. I would like you all to take a minute to imagine hearing about a meeting that will affect you and your neighbors. You weren't really given a formal awareness of this meeting, and statements were given about you from people who have no idea of anything regarding your personal life, and making generalizations about you and your living situation, and you're not in attendance to properly defend yourself or your reputation. Additionally, your personal address is released on a public website without your knowledge or consent, which could lead to unspeakable damage to you or your family from anyone within the city of Rocky Mount. I don't think that would make any of y'all feel very good. We weren't given a formal chance of representation, and essentially our voices were taken away from us. I've never felt more upset of the manner in which this council chose to handle and release this information. I read the article myself, and the first thing that I thought to myself was, wow, there was really an audience that was there that heard this misinformation from a one-sided perspective and truly believed that my mom and other residents are monsters who aren't deserving of their own privacy and ownership. A majority of the personal attacks regarding 411 Woodfield Drive may have come from the stories of the next-door neighbors residing in 413 Woodfield Drive. This residence has insinuated continuous harassment to my mother and her property, as well as displaying a lack of integrity.
Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate it.
Is there any chance that I can finish?
We just are sticking to 3 minutes, and thank you so very much, but we appreciate you coming.
We do have emails available too. If you
Yeah,
want to reach
right.
out via
You can
email
email
or
us.
telephone, we're happy to hear it just outside the meeting.
Or send us your whole, what you had to say tonight.
What email?
For
Good.
council members, if you want to individually email us, it's on the website for the town.
Thank you. All right, you've looked
Mayor,
at,
before we go any further, with these two young ladies coming forward, saying that they were blindsided by what they read in the telegram, I think they need to know, and the audience here this evening need to know that this problem didn't just come up 2 weeks ago. We've been mulling over this for a year, at least a year now, and to the best of my knowledge, even our police department has gone out there and spoken to some of the residents. Who they spoke to, I don't know who, but they went to the residents and spoke to them. And we also made a call to, I think, to the property owner who the property is deeded to, and we have not had any positive results to come forward. And to them, they don't have to answer now. Since this article aired 2 weeks ago, or you learned about it 2 weeks ago, has there been any change in the way the parking situation is out there? Has anything changed at all? But don't think that everything just transpired 2 weeks ago. We've been working on this, and not only your immediate neighbors, but other people in the community have also voiced concerns about this also. So it's not entirely true that you didn't know about it. You may not have known about it, but somebody did that lives at that residence. So, but like Ms. Burns just said, if you need to voice some more concerns, you can either email the town or email the council people individually if you like. But this was not a one-night decision thing that we brought up. And like she said, this is the second time we're reading on this. But it is what it is. And I used to live out there in Woodfield, 4 or 5 houses from this particular residence. So this has been a problem for quite a while, a concern for quite a while, let's put it that way.
I think too, it has to be noted that this was not based on emotions. It was not based on any one particular residence. This is based on several residences throughout town.
Throughout the town.
That
Throughout the town.
it's been brought to our attention that it's reducing property values of neighbors and things like that. It had nothing to do with any negative remarks that were made at any of these meetings.
Okay, council, after looking at the ordinance and going over the additions, I think we're to vote on it tonight, so do I hear a motion to vote on the ordinance 2023-19, prohibiting the parking of vehicles in the front yard and side yards of lots used for residential purposes and prohibiting on-street parking beyond the hard surface of the street?
So moved.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
I have one quick question, Randy. All the revisions look great. On the second page, In the paragraph for vehicle, I see you just took out motor vehicle by motor vehicle from our packet in the revised one that you gave us, and I don't know if that was intentional.
Where is that, Kate?
On the second page, under the definition of vehicle,
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
it's clear either way, so it really is okay to remain
Okay.
the way that it is. I just didn't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah, I think Raz made that change.
Okay, good.
Okay, now let's move on to our second item on our agenda, which is social district. So, let's see, we get to that, social district. Okay, should I hear the people that want to speak first? And let me remind you, you have 3 minutes. Laura Bartholomew. This is on our second item on our agenda, the downtown and Nash Junction social districts.
Good evening, Mayor,
Good
Council.
evening.
Laura Bartholomew, address 514 Western Avenue, Nashville, North Carolina. My husband and I own multiple properties actually in Nashville and many throughout Nash and surrounding counties. And as I mentioned before, I am the director of Faith Christian Ministries of Nash County at 245 and 239 West Washington Street here in Nashville. I am not in support of the social district plan in Nashville, especially downtown where I am located. A few weeks ago, on WRAL reported how bad their social district areas were, and now it's a hot spot for crime. August was a huge spike in crime for this area, and it's not enough for them to have just police officers on the ground, but now they're looking into technology such as metal detectors and cameras to help with protecting the businesses, business owners, and the citizens. They say that hindsight is 20/20, but for us, Nashville, this is a foresight. This is a glimpse into what we will be facing if we start down this path. It's only a matter of time. Just in the last week here in Nashville, we had a drive-by shooting and a pipe bomb. This is crazy. Let's get on a different path. What is having this social district really about? Money? Bringing more appeal to Nashville? Becoming more culturally aware or relevant? If these are your reasons, you are way off. This is not Nashville. Increasing money, appeal, and culture can be done in much better ways than bringing alcohol into any town. So again, why? As I said before, you gave Tarboro and Wilson as a template and role models to aspire to, but when did Nashville need to look like anyone else? The thing about Nashville and what draws people to this town is its wholesomeness, safety, down-home atmosphere, and loving community. So like I said, let's keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dunford. Annie Bell? State your, where you live, Annie Bell.
Hi, my name is Annie. Well, first of all, good evening. How
Good
are you all
evening.
doing? My name is Annie Bell, and I currently reside at 105 Wheeler Circle, apartment T as in Tom, here in Nashville, 27856. I'm pretty much just getting my feet wet with this and finding out bits and pieces about it. The social district is what I'm here to speak on. The reason I chose Nashville is you can tell by the accent I'm not from here, I'm from Scotland. And I come from a small town, and it was quaint, it was cute, everything. So when I retired, I decided almost a decade ago to live in Nashville. Of course, it was closer to my family and everything. But it's cute. It's nostalgic for me. It's cozy. And above all, it's safe. And I want it to stay that way. And I think it will. I think we're in good hands with you guys. And I think they're going to take whatever we say very seriously. I know that there's going to be certain boundaries as to where these people can walk around with these open cans and whatever. But we have to remember that people do move around. Blueprints don't. And we have to contain things. You know, if you choose to have this pass, there's going to be people from adjacent towns coming here. And as much as you might welcome them, the bigger the crowd, the louder the crowd, and they will not be contained. They're going to move around. When I first came here, you guys were in the process of making the sidewalks or pavements, as I say. I came to a couple of the meetings, and lo and behold, within 9 months to a year, not because of me, okay, not because of me, but you had the sidewalks up. And I think that was great. It's a great accomplishment. This is becoming as small as I can see metropolitan town. And as much as I see you're doing a great job, sometimes less is more. Sometimes. I want Nashville to be as nostalgic and cute and everything as I think it is going to be. And I want to feel safe. I feel like if you're going to have a lot of people coming here, the people that sort of walk up and down your sidewalks, up and down the town, and we do window shopping and everything, maybe after work, I think they're going to think twice about doing that. It might not be safe for them. And I'm not saying people's going to come in and create, havoc and everything, but I think you may be opening yourself up for something that cannot be contained. So thank you very much for your time. And I cannot believe that my 3 minutes is not even up and Annabelle has finished talking. Thank you very
so much.
Thank you.
Eddie Thomas. Eddie Thomas. Is Eddie here? Yeah.
He's here. See if you can top it up.
Yeah. First of all, Ms. Burns, I want to extend my condolences on the loss of your mother-in-law.
Thank you,
I
I
understand
appreciate
she
that.
passed away, and we've been praying for you guys.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I just want to continue with what's been said. I also disagree with the social districting in the fact that, they were talking about boundaries. If you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. And the thing about it is, is Nashville, do we want to, let's see how to put this, do we really want to allow something like this to happen? It says that there are a lot of people that have problems with alcohol, drugs, with addiction. And my family's been touched by that. So, with that being said, the Bible tells us that we don't want to cause our brother to stumble. So if we're allowing this to happen, that's exactly what's going to happen. You allow a little bit to come in, then it gets worse and worse and worse. I think, they talked about the pipe bomb and the shooting that we had. We really need to invest in our police department and our fire department. And we looked across town, and I see this sign that the future home of a fire department. And what's going to happen? We're going to watch that sign rot before anything is done. It appears, and so we want growth. All these homes are coming in. We need to set the example. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eddie. Dr. Rick Downing.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. My name is Rick Downing. I live at 3578 Oak Level Road. I'm the pastor at Oak Level Baptist Church, and I spoke to this several weeks ago as well. I'd first like to say that one of the greatest things to learn is whatever you compromise to gain, you ultimately lose. We, as in our whole nation, as you look today, we have compromised on our border, we have compromised on our law enforcement, and all that we have is cities that are just full of lawlessness, wickedness, and evil. And to open the door here would be a great disservice to this community. And to the Lord, I might add. We opened with prayer today. Prayer means nothing unless you pray to the one and true God and His Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. And there are in His words the things that He gives us. And number one is, if you ever give the devil an inch, he will take a mile. And it is very much evident in our own society throughout this nation, whether it's in Seattle, Washington, whether it's in Oregon. And if you've ever been to New Orleans, they have social district. within the French Quarter. If you've ever been there, you will find out anything goes in that French Quarter. The only thing you don't have to do or cannot do is have a glass container. You can have a cup, but you can't have a glass container. But anything else goes. Why? Because when you compromise, you open the door for every part of lawlessness that follows. Coming from a dad who was an alcoholic and seeing all the drug addiction I've seen through the years in my 47 years of ministry, there is no reason for us to ever open up anything like this in this community. If we want to open something up, let's open up some places where we can minister to people who are hurting and who need to know the Lord Jesus Christ, who needs hope in their life, who needs help in their life. Don't give them more pain and more suffering, which alcohol does. Thank you.
Thank you. Ginger Downing.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
I'm Ginger Downing, and I am a lifelong resident of Nash County, if you couldn't tell from the accent. But I moved away for just a short while, but I lived in Nashville for 12 years with my family. And then I was transferred, but when I got the first chance to come back, I came back. And I wanted only to live in Nashville. But guess what? Couldn't find a house in Nashville because everybody wants to live in Nashville. That has not changed, but it will change if we vote in social districting. Social districting sounds very harmless, and it probably would start off as something very small, but let's just call it what it is. My opinion is drunks wandering the street, and I don't think that's anything that we need in this town. I enjoy going to downtown Nashville and shopping. My daughters enjoy doing that and doing it with their grandchildren. I don't think it would be like it is today. Having also grown up around alcohol, I know what it does to people. It destroys the person that's alcoholic. It impacts their family for a lifetime. It can take their life, and it unfortunately sometimes takes the life of someone else when they do it not very responsibly. And I just don't think that this can be done responsibly. As Christians, we are supposed to snatch the people from the gates of hell, not stand by and watch them fall in, jump in, and we definitely don't want to push them in, which is what we would be doing. They need Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Christy Clark.
Good evening. My name is Kirsty Clark. I reside at 1035 East Washington Street in Nashville. Recently transported here from Columbus, Ohio. I have a realtor actively looking to help me purchase a home here in Nashville. I was very intentional about the city that I chose to live in. I have family here, as you heard some speak tonight, and some that live in Raleigh, but I was intentional about coming here. Bear with me for a moment. The holidays are almost upon us, and I'm thinking about my favorite Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. If you know that movie, raise your hand. George Bailey, he lived in a town called Bedford Falls. Bedford Falls, it was a place where he ran the bank and trust, where you could do a business deal on a handshake. Everybody knew you when you moved into town. They brought you a gift to your door. They baked a pie or brought you a loaf of bread when you purchased a house over there at Bailey Falls. It was a very quaint town. Everybody knew you. They had Nick's Bar, where you walked in and it was almost like a Cheers, where everybody knew your name. They knew what you wanted to drink before you even ordered it. Everyone took care of each other, and it had heart and it had soul. George had an opportunity to see what life was going to be like without him. Without George, the town seemed to crumble. What was there instead? Mr. Potter, greedy, slick businessman. He had turned that town into a very rip-roaring village, complete with strip clubs and pool bars and dance joints by the dozen. I guess in today's world, you might even see a flashing light that said CBD, exotic. That's all I'll say on that. But that once quiet town was met and demolished by a storm of chaos. And I would just say to you, Nashville, you have an opportunity here today, just like George did, to imagine a future town for your children and your grandchildren. What do you want your town to look like in the future? Thank you. And happy holidays.
Frank Bozell.
And for the record, she's my daughter, too.
My name is Frank Bozell. I've lived in Nash County for 60 years around Nashville. And the thing of it is, I hate to see
I need your name, your address, Frank.
5958 NC Highway 58 north of Nashville.
Thank you.
All right. But I don't know how many people here has ever been to New Orleans, but it started out down there, just a small area, and it's spread it. It's about 8 blocks of it now. And during Mardi Gras down there, everything goes. They even have sex and stuff on the street in public. Now, I would hate to see this town get in that position. I know that most of you are looking at the revenue, but you're going to lose because all the stores down on the main part of town will lose. They'll be going out of business because I would not have my wife go shop at Jody's and places that she likes to go with this people out there drinking on the street. And like I say, the revenue is what y'all might be looking at, but you'll lose in the long run.
Thank you. Bobby Catlett.
Bobby Catlett, 784 Breedlove Road. I've been a resident of Nashville my whole life, except for a period of time where I went to NC State. I've seen Nashville grow quite a bit. I've been a part of that growth. We've ran a restaurant back in the 90s. We also ran a florist at one time. So we were familiar with Nashville. You know, I look back and I think, when we went into Nashville House Restaurant in 1989, our water deposit was $15, you know? But then McDonald's came and all this other growth came, and just look what the water bill is today. You know, I'm not saying growth is not good, but I don't think that the growth that we're looking at with this district is not going to help anything. My children when she was in elementary school, walking downtown to the flower shop where my wife runs. Might take her 2 hours to get there because she's going to stop at every business. Everybody knows them. She's going to look at everything. But she got to where she was going. I never worried about her. But under the circumstances of what can go on now, you know, I was in New York back in the 80s. And the cab driver, most of them were foreign, but I did happen to get one that was U.S. And he told me, he said, I didn't used to have to lock my doors in New York City. He said, but I'm going to tell you, now is a different situation. He said, and mark my word, in 20 years, y'all will have the problems that we're having now. And so I looked at a lot of news, and you see what's going on all across this country, and it's just a shame that nobody's standing up for the little guy. And that's who we are, as little guys. If we don't stand up for ourselves, no telling what can happen, you know. So I'm against it totally. I think if people want to have a drinking in an establishment that pays their taxes and is permitted, fine. But as far as me participating in this open street thing, I don't think it's a good idea at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna McLaurin. I mean Dougal. Lord have mercy, and I've been knowing him 100 years.
Well, not 100 years. I think I've lived here 27 years in Nashville. I came in 1997. We live in Woodfield subdivision. Used to pastor Nashville Baptist Church and then have just retired from Tall River Baptist Association. 705 Bayberry Lane is my address. I could ditto everything that's been said with regard to everything, but my questions that I asked at the last meeting that I spoke at dealt with, I feel like, it's on the startup. Number one, I certainly do not see a reason for this to be even considering the downtown area, because I believe that it is not such a place that we need there. One of the things that we need to consider is how we start things up. I have concerns about the Nashville Police Department. Not that they are down. I would think that we're adding a burden to them, and we need to consider that. I think we need to look to a lot of the circumstances with regard to being out on the street and the liability. That was discussed at the last meeting. Who bears the responsibility? Somebody has to pay for that, and my fear is that it will be the taxpayers, and mostly the taxpayers that are here that are not in support of that being in place. So I think that is an important thing to deal with. One of the things that I ask is about, there's empty buildings, there's, do we already have people that are saying we'll move in if we have that district? And I think that the businesses also are questioning, if we have this district, who pays for the liability and all the extra added on type things that have to be. I think they would be responsible for security as well, but that's a different story. But as someone was talking up here, I remember that in another life, in another town, I was the chairman of the mental health board in Cumberland County. And in that position, I worked with a lot of people, alcohol, drugs, mental issues. We need to look at a whole lot of things before we, as a small town, invest in something that, if it started wrong, will bring a lot of problems that we definitely do not need in the communities where we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dougal. Linda Wells.
Mayor and council members, my name is Linda Wells. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about the social district, and this is the third time, so I think most of you here already know my feelings about the social district. You know, we're talking about, the Lord gave us, we brought God into it when we started, like someone's already brought up. So do we really want him here? Do we really want his opinion? Do we really want to make him proud of the decisions that we're making for our town? Not just for our town, not just for us, for our children. I've lived here all my life, my whole life. I love this town. I love this people, and I'm ready to fight for this town and for our children and for, I don't know what this is all about, if it's money. I mean, is that money worth our children, our town, our safety? We need to ask ourselves that. We look on the paper. I just got my graphic today. The headlines, Nash to receive millions to combat the opioid abuse. Now, I don't know. I mean, I've had to deal with that in my family. And alcohol. And until you've had to deal with that, you don't know the heartache and the pain that it causes in your life. And is that worth $1 to somebody? I'm sorry, but I don't have any sympathy for anybody that wants to make $1 over a child's life and our safety and keeping our town a good town for our families. Then shootings, then a pipe bomb. This graphic, we want to look like Raleigh. We want to look like Raleigh. we're looking like Raleigh. The graphic looked more like Raleigh today than it did the graphic that I'm used to reading. Yes, I'm mad. I'm sad and I'm mad of what it is doing to our town. And I thank you.
Thank you,
And I
Wanda.
pray that all of you that have to vote, think about it in your heart what you're voting for. Everybody.
Al Hyde.
Al Hyde, 117 West Washington Street, Nashville. I'm here to speak about the social districting as well. I'm on the Downtown Strong Committee, but I've been absent quite a bit for various reasons, but I did send an email today. We were voting via email, and I think the only one against it that I read. If there are any other no's, I'm not aware of it. But I agree with what she said, to open a town meeting with a prayer, and in the same meeting be talking about social districting for alcohol. To me, that's blasphemous in itself. Secondly, I have property in Nashville on Washington Street. A lot of these people on these committees, they have no property downtown. We have 3 properties, and I have my dwelling. So we own a good part of downtown, and I can tell you we want no part of this. I think it does come to greed. I think a lot of it has to do possibly with a business on one side of town being linked to Washington Street, because maybe they can serve alcohol and someone over here feels like they need to serve it. You just follow the money, and you can see what's going on. But I'm against it. I'm against someone coming in from out of town who lives in a different location and wanting us to help pay for whatever they're trying to do. I'm totally against that. And I can connect the dots. And I can see the liaisons here on this council with people sitting out here who are not from town. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcia Edwards.
Hi, I'm Marcia Edwards. I'm at 2092 Erkin-Smith Road in Nashville. I was raised here, probably brought here when I was about 4, and lived here until I went to college. I was gone a couple of years, and then my husband bought me back and put me in the country about 44 years ago, and I've been there. But my heart is with this town. My daddy loved it, my family loves it, I love it, and I care greatly about it. My concern is, I know growing up here, and we loved walking up and down the streets of Nashville and walking our dogs, and groups of us going around. And I know in the summertime, it's light until 9 o'clock at night, and families with children and dogs, they like to get up and walk down Main Street. And I'm thinking about, if you've got people walking up and down the street drinking, and there's no one that can control them, then would I really want to be taking my grandchildren, my dog, or, walking with a group of women or friends up and down the streets of Nashville? And I don't think I would. Right now, the businesses downtown that serve the alcohol, you can drive by any time, and the people are confined. I mean, they're right there. They're not roaming. And the business owners that serve the alcohol, they are able to, the people that are there, their customers, if they get out of line, they can do something about it. But if their customers leave their establishment and go walking down the street, they can't be expected to do anything about it. And then you'd have to have police or somebody there doing it. And I just think it would ruin the town for families who want to be out walking around, jogging around through the downtown area. I think they would avoid it like the plague if this is passed. So I'm just asking you, please, you know, as I said, search your heart, think about this. What is this really going to do to families who really want to be out and about in Nashville? I think it would be a big problem. So please think about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcia. Michael Hart. Good.
All right, 3 minutes. First of all, I think Peter Anderson's going to do a fantastic job on the junction. And if he's doing your repair of your sidewalks in the community, it might take a little bit of time, but I forget, he's going to get it done. So Peter's a good man. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the social districts. I'm not going to really get into too much of it just because I don't think that 3 minutes is going to justify what it takes to be able to elaborate everything that goes into it. But there's a lot of, time frames, the days that these districts are available and the impact on the community. I'm a resident of Youngsville. They have a social district in Youngsville, and I'm also on real estate in Franklinton, North Carolina. And I want to invite anybody. They have First Friday night tomorrow night in Franklinton. I want to invite the council and anybody here that wants to come. Be happy to give you a tour of the place because I think you'll see, if you know anything about Franklinton, North Carolina, the impact that social district has had on the community, and it's a plus. I'm not trying to pitch it to this community. If there's something that they don't want on Washington Street, I completely understand with that. But
Excuse me, please now. He was quiet while other people were talking, so you need to have the same respect. Thank you.
So I'm not trying to pitch Washington Street. Obviously, we've got a property at the junction though, and this is paramount to what we're trying to do as we look to do events and we look to do festivals and we look to do different things out there. This whole social district is something that we kind of talked about when we were looking to move forward with that property. If the town doesn't want it on Washington Street, I think there's a lot of misconceptions that we don't know all the details and facts about it. And, I think doing a little research and going to Franklinton and seeing how they operate and seeing the impact that it has had on their community would be a wise decision before we just make a hasty decision and not have all the facts. But, Blooming Festival serves alcohol. Do we have a lot of issues when we do Blooming Festival? Did the MSD, what was their recommendation? Was it approval? Do we know what MSD's recommendation was?
At the meeting, I believe it was proposed to be a council vote, and then via email, I think it was like an informal vote of each person, and Al was correct, he was the one person who opposed, and it seemed that the others had approved.
Okay, so the MSD board essentially was in favor of it except for one. And does staff recommend approval?
If this is what the community and the council wants, yeah, we can make this work.
I'm just asking the question. I didn't know if staff recommended approval or not. When Warrenton looked to do their social district, staff did not recommend approval. So, it's just, Warrenton, people in Warrenton didn't want it. All I can tell you is what we're trying to do down there at the junction. It would be very important for us to be able to have that social district. And because what we're looking to do is something similar to the Rocky Mount Mills. And, so.
I don't know that you gave your name and address for the record.
It's Michael J. Hurt, and I live at 110 Timberlake Drive.
Thank you so much.
Youngsville, North Carolina.
Thank you. The next person, is it Joanne Pope?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It is.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Pope Clark. I'm the owner of the Vino Market downtown at 234 West Washington. My address is 4413 Canadian Court in Raleigh. I grew up in Spring Hope. I have been in this area all my life, other than going to college, coming back. And I kind of concur with Michael that people don't understand what the social district is and how it functions. I've been open for a year and a half. I have not had any problems with people being disruptive with having alcohol. They go to my place, they go to Edward Glenn's place. We haven't had any problems. I've had alcoholics in my family. I've dealt with drugs, I've dealt with mental health. I was a product of that myself with my family. I own a wine bar slash retail wine store. So and actually everybody who works with me, they're ABC server trained. They know if people have too much alcohol. They know we will stop serving them. So we have a control for people when they leave out of our store. We make sure, I've taken people home. If they feel like they don't want to drive home, I've taken people home if that's the case. So I think there's a misconception about what a social district is. You're limited on the amount of alcohol that you have, and it's not going to make the town look bad. I came back to Nash County, to Nashville, for the small town, but I also would like to see it grow. I've been in Raleigh since I left Spring Hope, and I've seen it grown. I've been in Wendell, in Zebulon, where they just passed the social district. The owners of the places there, they haven't had any issues. I go to that place often, and I've seen it. Same with Michael Hurt in Lewisburg and some of the other places, small towns. I've seen how it is in a social district, and it's not the way that we are imagining it. It is really just a place to socialize. I can tell the number of people that have never been in my place. My place is not a ronky-donk little spot. I pride myself in having a nice, clean, social spot for people to gather, to get together with friends, and to have a drink. You know, go to dinner at Ribeyes and then just come down and wind down at the Vino Market. It's not a place to come and get drunk. I mean, that is the last thing that I want people to do. I only serve beer and wine, so it's not the hard alcohol. And Edward Glen controls his people as well. We never have any issues down there. I don't see people talking about walking around at night. If anybody come, I'm open at 10 o'clock at night. I can count the number of people that I see walking downtown after it gets dark because I'm there. My curtains are always open. I see the people at the police department or the sheriff's department. They come through. I have great support with them, and I'm pretty sure they can vouch and say that they have not had any issues since I've been open a year and a half.
Thank you so very much, Joanne. Next, we have Jacqueline Rogers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jacqueline Rogers, 406 Indian Trail, Nashville. I have lived in Nashville for 65 years, minus the years that I have college and the military. We're not advocating public drunkenness. No, that's not what we're looking for, because I would be against that totally. But I do see the need, if people want to socialize and to mingle, that's good. But I'd be the first one to say, if it was out of hand, let's cancel that. Because I don't believe in that. I'm just like the rest of you. Church, yes, I do. Yes, I believe in God, but I believe in choices. I also believe in choices. What is within you is within you. If you're going to be a public drunk, regardless of where you are, whether you're at home or what. We have a lot of people that hide behind the fact that they drink. They don't want others to know, but they would never willingly admit that we drink. Once you reach a certain age, our children, we talk to our children, we teach our children what not to do and what to do. But when they reach a certain age, they become individuals. They become adults. There is nothing. My son is 32 years old. I cannot tell him. I can tell him yes. But he is an adult. That is his choice. And again, no, I do not advocate public drunkenness. I would be the first one to say, no, let's can this. So it's up to the individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. The next person is Edward Smith. Edward Glenn Smith.
My name is Edward Smith. Thank you for giving me this chance. I'm the one y'all are talking about, or they are talking about. But I want to assure you, nobody can leave my place drunk, or I'll lose my license. We've never had, like Joanne said, we've never had any problems. We're not going to have any problems while I'm on it. That's about all I got to say. But one other thing, this was the town's idea. Nashville needed some light in life, and they came to see me. And that's it. Don't worry about anybody coming to my place going to bother anybody. I've been here 70-some years, and I would not allow it. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Michael Johnson.
My name is Michael Johnson, and I live at 822 South Creek Drive here in Nashville. I moved to Nashville when I was about 13 years old. I lived in a rural area near Bailey, North Carolina, and I moved up to a bigger city called Nashville. So ever since then, the only time I've really not lived here is when I went off to college. I went to ECU. I got a master's degree in music from the University of Tennessee, and I sang in several opera companies in New York, not New York City, but New York State. And I eventually came back here. I felt a calling of the Lord on my life. My dad founded what was called then Nashville Praise and Worship Center. Now it's Fellowship Church. So the thing is, I have lived for God and I have lived for the devil. And when I lived for God, I didn't participate in anything with alcohol. When I lived for the devil for a while in college, I partied and I saw what it could do to people. People passed out constantly, can't control themselves. And anytime, I'll say this, and you can call me, I don't know, a Bible thumper or whatever, but it's not about that. I've seen it for myself. Anytime that you make more accessible alcohol in its nature in the way that they're proposing to do, it will cause more crime. It will cause underage drinking. The police will have more problems. I believe there's going to be more DUIs. I believe there's going to be accidents, and people will die from this. I really believe this. You can say that's extreme, but alcohol causes problems. And anytime you make it more accessible in a particular way like this, I just believe it would not be good for our community. Also, the Bible says, do not put strong drink to your neighbor's lips. And I know that everybody, the ones that are for it, are looking at it from a business side of it. And I understand people want to make money, but the thing is, I believe people are more important than economic gain. I do believe that God wants us to put people first, and I'm not against people speaking their voice. There have been a few, but I do think that people that sit in power or higher positions as yourself need to look at the will of the people. And I think the will of the people has been stated with the number that are against this tonight compared to the number that are for it. So anyway, I'm just against this, and I love all of you, whether or not you vote for it or vote against it. But I say, I don't think this is a good thing, the social districting, because God loves people.
Thank you very much. Melanie Johnson.
Melanie Johnson. I live at 822 South Creek Drive. I'm the fourth generation of my family that's lived in Nashville, and I'm opposed to this. I think that bringing the alcohol in is not a good thing. With the gentleman who spoke on behalf of the Junction, he said it's paramount to the Junction. Well, why should alcohol be paramount to anything we're doing here in this town? That's how I feel about it. And then the lady who spoke also on behalf of her business, and I'm glad that her business is doing well and everything. But they were talking about socializing. But does socializing have to have alcohol? I don't think it does. I think we can get together and drink a Coke and not have to drink alcohol. And I think bringing that element into our town, I think the 4 generations of my family would say, let's don't do that. Let's don't do that. Let's keep it like it is. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all of the people that have signed up to speak tonight. Thank you so much. So at this time, council, you've heard the people. Give me some thoughts. Or do we need to table it and look at it more often? I mean, look at it some.
Well, I was at the meeting on September the 14th, the first meeting we had, and I sit here and listen to pretty much the same people, with the exception of a few more new ones, speak about whether or not they wanted it or did not want it. Edward Glenn spoke, and he said he didn't think, and he's left now, but Edward Glenn said that he didn't think voting for or against it would change his business any at all. Joanne that owns the Vino Mart, I think her customers that she has now, and I'm one of them, will still continue to be her customers. The thing that we're looking at, rather than, we're talking about putting alcohol on the street, not necessarily at the Vino Market, not necessarily at one of these days. And there's only one other business on Main Street that would sell alcohol. That would be the bookstore, because I don't think the coffee shop sells alcohol. So you got those 3 people right there on Main Street. But I think the same customers that go there now will continue to go there whether we vote for this or not vote for this. Like I said, I came to the meeting on the 14th, and I sit here tonight and listen, and I've looked at the pros and the cons. I'm looking at trash, I'm looking at police force, I'm looking at safety, I'm looking at everything that people have mentioned. And the only thing I can say is I heard you. I heard what they want.
I was also at the meeting. One thing we have to consider, we have lost the north side of our downtown, Washington Street. The county owns all of it. The only thing we have left is the south side of Washington Street. We need to protect it. And by protecting it, I don't think a social district would enhance it. And Edward Glenn said this idea came from the town. Randy, could you expand on that? He
I
said
think
this
I
was the
think he
town's
was
idea.
referring to his opening one of these days so that there would be some nightlife downtown. Now, I could be incorrect on that.
No,
but
you're telling the truth, because I asked him one time why he decided to do it, and he said because so many people came to him and said they wanted somewhere to go, other than, we just had the one place down there to get seafood and stuff, so that's why he did it.
So I'll give my 2 cents. I think when it comes to downtown, I can see everybody's point. Some daytime issues especially. There really is no huge restaurant scene yet down there. There's no brew or wine scene other than the lovely wine bar that we have down there in multiple locations where it would be, one person picking up and saying, okay, let's, now mosey on down here and see who's at this place. So I don't see the need for it downtown right now. And I think that there's not enough push for it and a lot of pushback against it. However, I see the junction as being isolated. I see where there's the farmer's market that sells the beers there. I see the pavilion with the music where people are going to want to sit out in a lawn chair and listen. The restaurants and a potential microbrew, where it makes sense to me to have the moseying about and moving from one location to the next and meeting up with your friends here or there. So I see them as 2 separate issues tonight.
I agree with that. I do have a little bit of concern about the hours. I do think that for the junction it would be feasible to consider this, but I'm not sure why 11 a.m. would need to be the time frame. To me, that just seems, even for a Wednesday through Saturday, I don't see why that time, if the times were adjusted, I could understand possibly going with that for the purpose of the junction having this.
Call for a vote.
Okay, do I hear, so I guess the motion that I'm hearing,
I haven't had one.
I hadn't had one, so what is the motion that you would like to suggest? I've heard the pros for not having it downtown and, you know, having it at the junction, so what, I need to have a motion before we vote.
Well, Mayor, if I may clarify one thing, on the agenda is just discussion about this, and I guess what I was anticipating the council do is listen, have discussion, decide if you want to proceed going forward. There's a process that has to be done. Obviously, that begins with an ordinance. A draft ordinance was put in the packet.
Right.
The times were suggested by the Downtown Strong Advisory Board or the MSD. It can be whatever the council wants. It can be whatever dates you want to have on it. It can be downtown, or it can be the junction, or it can be both. So I think you've had your discussion here this evening. If you're looking for a vote, I would suggest having one. If you want to go forward with one or the other or none, that be the motion. If it's to not go forward with anything, then we're finished with it. If it is, then the next meeting, we would have consideration of an ordinance.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with a vote tonight with, there's no need to keep kicking it down the street. Let's have a vote, call for a vote tonight, excluding the junction. I want to vote basically for downtown, and at a later date, Mr. Hurt can come back and request the social district when the junction is closer to being completed. But right now, I call for a vote for downtown.
So,
Is it
for
a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
all those in favor, and it's my understanding that we're excluding downtown.
No,
So don't move forward with the social
Don't-
district downtown.
Downtown.
Right.
We aren't gonna have downtown social districting, but when the junction gets better, he can come and we can,
look at it again.
okay. Does everybody understand the motion?
I think so.
And we've had a first and a second, so all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. So let's move on to our next item on our agenda is the rezoning public hearing and decision, 2 vacant lots at Brake versus South First.
People, please don't leave now. The other folks still here and listen to your side of the story. Listen to the rest of the side of the story.
I think too, we have a lot of people who say they aren't aware of things. If you
That's
watch
right.
meetings
You're
and
not
come
aware
to
of them.
meetings, you'll
You will
know.
never
We'd
know.
love to see you back when there's not a big issue, just to see what we do at our meetings.
There you
But
go.
thank you for coming out, and I understand if you have to leave.
Okay.
The public hearing, RZ 2023-02, Aaron Duda is requesting to rezone approximately 3,600 of acres located on Brake Street and South First Street in Nash County's parcel ID 003296 and 005959, PIN number 3800-0768-7112 and 3800-0768-6157 in the town of Nashville's jurisdiction from R10 Medium Density Residential District to B1 General Business District per Division 9 of the Nashville zoning ordinance. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Sherry Moss.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm here before you to present what we have on the rezoning 2023-02. So the purpose of the rezoning is to allow the property to be used as a retail operation. The subject properties contain 2 vacant lots. The zoning districts in the area includes one adjacent B1 zoning lot with a land use consisting of a retail store, and R10 zoning district with the land uses of single-family dwellings. So rezoning the 0.36 acre 2-lot tract from R10 to B1 would allow the property to be utilized as retail, but at the same time would not be in harmony with the existing surrounding land uses in the area, which is the the all majority of single-family residences. And also, just to give you a quick breakdown, so the existing zoning, R10 is medium density, and R10 is defined as medium-density residential areas of mostly single-family dwellings and certain open areas where similar residential development will likely occur. And the proposed zoning, which is B1, general or highway business district, which is defined as certain commercial areas which provide a wide selection of convenience and comparison shopping outlets. And ideally, this district is customarily located at the intersection of one or more highways or along thoroughfares. And it also provides retail and personal services for the benefit of residents in nearby areas and non-residents. And so that was based on the Nashville zoning code, or the code of ordinances, and comparing it with our 2021 Nashville comp plan. The existing area is medium density residential. So the residential uses there include single family manufactured home subdivisions, duplexes, townhomes, and limited multifamily development, including apartments and condominiums. And also parks, places of worship, and schools or institutional uses of similar scale or context shall be allowed there. And what would be proposed is the neighborhood services designation, and the neighborhood services land use classification includes commercial office and institutional services that are primarily located and designed to serve the town's citizens. And looking at, you can see the comparison of the zoning map and the future land use map, showing where the area is located, as it shows on both now are where the property is located is shown as medium density residential for both. So if the properties were to be rezoned to B1, it would be inconsistent with the zoning and also with the future land use map. And so going to the consistency statement, so when you vote, you would have three options. Option 1 would be to approve the zoning. Option 2 would be to deny it. And option 3 is actually approving the inconsistency, but in stating how will it update the comprehensive plan.
Okay, with all that being said, we need to open the public hearing, so do I hear a motion that we open our public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we do have some people to speak. First of all, we have Ted Davis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ted Davis. I reside at 804 Old Wilson Road here in Nashville, North Carolina. One statement I want to make makes me feel proud because I am the president of the Voice of Nashville, Incorporated. Been the president for 21 years here in Nashville. And that's what our life is all about. Speaking up. Amen. Being heard. And when I see all the people here in Nashville come together to voice their opinions, it makes me feel good. Now for this rezoning, I am totally against it. Why? Because I live in that community, and I know all the people there. Don't need no extra activity there as far as what's going on in the world today. Personally, I want to feel safe. Now, if somebody wants to make money, that's fine. You need to do it somewhere else. And besides that, you come in our community, don't know you. You don't know me, but you want my money. I'm sorry, I'm up front. So as far as that rezoning, I'm totally against it. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. The next person is Donald Richardson.
How y'all doing this evening?
Good.
Name is Donald Ray Richardson. I stay at 847th Street, Nashville. I'm against that, putting that supermarket up there on Break Street. I lived on Break Street from 1966 to 2012 till my sister put me out the house. And what I was looking at the other day, how you gonna put a business there on that side of that street? And when they order the stuff like the food they need to put in there, what you think gonna happen? You're gonna have a truck parked on this side of the street. You got that little zigzag going through there. Y'all just put that brand new pretty $100,000 house on Break Street. Can you imagine a grocery store in front of that? It's gonna be tight. I don't care if somebody get upset tonight. Now, I agree with Mr. Davis. I don't know who this dude is. I'm finding this out tonight. And that's why I come to this meeting to voice my opinion, because it ain't right. You want to come on that side of town, pick that little bitty piece of lot, build you a grocery store. If you want some big land, you go down there to the Boris Willis Clinic, right there where Walmart at. You got that open lot right there. You want another lot, you go in front of the credit union, state employee. Pick that side of town. But you want to come over here and pack that stuff over there. Y'all don't live down there. I live down there all my life. And no, I ain't for no grocery store coming on Break Street. And you think about sardines, how you got them packed all in there together. You think about what's going to happen with that traffic over there. Y'all ain't got nothing to worry about, because y'all in the best part of Nashville. I'm speaking up for my community, Brooklyn and Break Street. I stay on 7th Street. But don't make no sense. All of a sudden, we got only one good business over there. That's the Brooklyn Beauty Bar. You got that other grocery store down there by Mount Vernon Church. It ain't hardly nobody going down there. I ain't worried about him anyhow. I'm talking about Break Street by Gallius Church. Now you think about it. When they bring their product in there, you're going to have that great big truck sitting on one side of the street, okay? Then you got that people in that new pretty house. They're going to be saying, wait a minute, I got to wait for the truck to move so I can get out my yard. And it's totally ridiculous. That little piece of lot for a grocery store. We got Piggly Wiggly. Tell them to go to Piggly Wiggly, like I do. Go to Walmart. Go right on down there to Food Line. But no, ma'am, I do not want no grocery store on my street, because I'm a tax-paying citizen, and I love my little time. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I believe that concludes all the people that signed up to speak concerning that. So you've heard the citizens, you've seen the recommendation of the planning board. Do I hear a motion that we come out of our public hearings?
So made.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
So you've heard the people, you've seen the recommendation of the planning board, so what are your thoughts?
Man, I've heard it from all sides about this rezoning request, and the gentleman was just up here. He's the first one that I hear to bring up the problem of traffic. He brought up traffic with delivery trucks being parked out there, which will create a problem for traffic, those people coming in and out. It's already a bad place to start with without putting anything else there. Because you're coming off at the crest of a hill, you're coming off with a curve, and if they were to put a residential property behind it, which is already zoned for, then that residential property should exit on the Break Street side and not on the South First Street side. But if what I'm hearing is what they're wanting to put in there, it don't fit. It just don't fit at all. I'm inclined to agree with him for all the reasons I've heard, to include traffic problems as well. Our police department's got enough work on their hands already.
Any other council member would like to speak?
Well, I think we also have to remember that you can say it's going to be a grocery all day long, but it can be anything under the B1 designation. So,
okay.
I move to deny because it's not in harmony with the neighborhood.
I second. That wasn't the vote.
No, you seconded the motion, yeah, you're good.
I second it. I second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor of denying this zoning request, let me hear it by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. It is denied. The next item on our agenda is concerning, Randy, the financial council agreement with Provident Bank.
Yes. So first of all, council member and mayor, you know, we have been approved by the LGC, Local Government Commission, to borrow money for Fire Station 2, finally. And I did put the correspondence on your desks here this evening, so you can see it in writing yourself. We've worked on that for a good 6 months, and we finally got that approved, which I'm very grateful for. So going forward now, we're going to execute a loan documents and loan agreements with Providence Bank for a loan that'll probably be in the amount of $2,556,000, give or take. The interest rate is 4.45% for 20 years. We got that interest rate quoted to us contingent upon the interest payments on that loan being certified by a public bond attorney or a certified bond attorney that they are truly exempt from state and federal tax. So in order to get that exemption, we need to employ a public finance attorney who's certified to do that. So I reached out to the League of Cities, or the League of Municipalities for the state of North Carolina. They gave a list of several firms that have attorneys that can do this. I reached out to a few other towns too, and Womble, Bonds and Dickinson from Raleigh was a name that came up as being one of the firms that does this and does it very well. So they have given us a proposal to do several things. One, they would negotiate financing document provisions with the lender and the lender's counsel. They prepare the various proceedings, certificates, and other documentation of the town and the local government commission. They would review the content of the installment financing agreement or the loan, the deed of trust and other related financing and closing documents. They prepare the tax certification that Providence Bank needs in order to satisfy the bank auditors and examiners, and the IRS Form 8038G, and they would render legal advice as to the tax consequences of the financing. And finally, they'd coordinate the closing and the rendering of the opinion as required by the lender. A lot of these things are required by state statute, which is what this firm does. Their proposal to do all this is $17,500. The difference being, without this certification and without these things that this company is going to do, the interest rate on that loan will be 1% higher. And for the term of the loan, that'll mean another $342,000 in interest paid over the term of that loan. So it's my recommendation to the council that we enter into an agreement with Womble, Bond and Dickinson to certify the tax exempt status of this loan with Providence Bank on the interest, and to do the other scope of work that they put in their proposal.
Do I hear a motion to approve this professional service contract with Womble, Bond, Dickerson?
So made.
Second.
Did you have a question, Louis?
I was just going to ask, is this on top of the 20,000 that we already have designated for legal fees?
It is on top of that, correct.
So I have a motion and a second. So all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay. A nice evening. That finishes our agenda for tonight. Again, we thank you so much for coming out and supporting your town, and we just appreciate each and every one of you. So at this time, the meeting is adjourned. Have a great evening.